Hey guys, and welcome back to That's What He Said. Today I have been inspired by something that my dad talked about in his men's group the other day, and it's something that I think I would have forgotten about if he didn't bring it up, but it's so, and I cannot stress this enough, so important, and that is 80-20, or as I like to call it as a Hamilton fan, talk less, smile more. I'm going to talk about what that means, how you can do it, the whole 9 yards, the normal, the shebang, the whole thing. Let's do it. So what is 80-20? So 80-20 is kind of almost like a strategy my dad has talked about or has tried to instill in his life. Obviously, as I've talked about many times with my parents' intentionality and that being a strength of theirs. So 80-20 means that you are talking 20% of the time, if that. You're listening 80% of the time, if not more than that. So it's kind of the strategy that takes you out of the main character role a little bit, or that role of telling, or that, that way of just, especially I know as an extrovert, I'm like, when is it my turn to talk? But it helps you actively listen, and it helps you be engaged in your conversation and really be fully present, especially if somebody's talking about something that might be a little bit more of a challenging topic or something that they've been struggling with. It really helps you to be able to say, okay, let me be here. Let me be fully present in this moment, in this situation. Let me hear them, but not only hear them, but empathize with them. And you can do that by not waiting for your next turn to talk. So 80-20, talking 20%, listening 80. Can't go wrong with it. So what do we know about active listening? What even is active listening? Now, what we know about active listening is it obviously builds trust, stronger rapport, genuine interest in somebody. And I mean, that's a huge goal of your relationship with people, is that they feel and see your support. So this is a great way to do it. So it's kind of this way, this unspoken or spoken way of, hearing people. A communication technique where you're focusing on being there for the person. You're focusing on really hearing them, being engaged in their story, asking questions here and there, but not cutting off, what they're thinking, or not interrupting them, or not waiting for the next time to talk like some of us do. But some of us are working on it. Some of us are working on it. Now, as a teacher, this is something that I had always really hoped that I instilled in the kids and that I provided for them. And there are 3 different R's to active listening that we can hold true. It can be like a mantra this week or whenever you need it, is repeat, reflect, respond. The art of active listening is repeat, reflect, respond. So repeating is, demonstrating that we've really heard the person by repeating back what they said. It shows that we've kind of understood what they're saying. If we can summarize it, it's like a mini, impromptu book report. You're kind of saying, okay, well, you said A, B, and C, and I followed you here. This is great just in general when you're listening to a story, because people will forget what they said too. If they're on a rant, if they're on a tangent, if they're, venting about something, they might need you to find the patterns. So make sure that when somebody is talking to you, that instead of thinking, oh, what can I say next? What can I say next? Think, oh my goodness, what is this person feeling? How can I better understand them? How can I repeat this phrase and get more clarification on what they're saying here? It takes work. It takes time. And having that awareness is going to help you a lot with repeating that information back. And that kind of goes into reflecting. So there's repeat, and now we're on reflect. Reflect is kind of thinking about what patterns might be, what are some basic insights from that other person's experience. Even just asking for clarification, say somebody is really upset about a work situation, about people at work, hurt by something that happened. So you could pose the question, so you're feeling hurt by this situation, but you still enjoy working there, so that it helps that person start to reflect on what they said, their feelings, actually process their emotions. And it also helps you get clarity that you might be able to help them grow. And it helps clarify for just in general, you might be able to help them observe something about themselves, and you also will be able to understand them more fully. And you can even start with try to tell me more about that. And it helps you too with reflecting, because if people gloss over important details, you can start by saying, why not tell me more about that? Or what about this? Or just asking those active questions. So responding is really a question phase. So now we get repeat, where you're like, okay, I heard you say this and this. Reflecting, ask the question, then can you give me more clarification on this? Can we talk a little bit more about this? What are you feeling about this? Where do you notice this? Are there patterns? Anything like that really helps that person start to process their information, their conversation, anything that they might be going through. It might help them see patterns, all that jazz. Now, respond is a good reminder. So obviously with 80-20, it's not 100-0. You don't want to just be like, that's boring. That doesn't help anything. Instead, you want to kind of remain not impassive, but responding to what we're being told, being engaged in that, almost feeling like you're trying to take on this personality of the story. You're trying to feel like, another Hamilton reference, you're in the room where it happened. You're trying to feel that with them. You're trying to be there with them. Like, wow, that must have been really terrible. Or I'm sorry you had this awful time, this awful experience. Something straightforward, supportive, and that supports the other person too. But also, responses do not have to be verbal responses. These can be very much like a nod, or they can be, maintaining direct eye contact, just knowing your people, knowing if they need you to hold their hand when they say the stuff they're saying, or they need you to just, thumbs up, or they need you to really be there. And also all of that nonverbal of don't cross your arms when you're listening, or so on and so forth. Things that you all know. 80-20, if you really want to master this skill, if you really want to know people, and I mean know them well, to be that person's wow, they really made me feel supported. Wow, they really made me feel XYZ about myself that I had never felt before. It's as simple as the 3 R's. Repeat, reflect, respond. Listen more than you talk. It is so important that you listen more than you talk, because if you really want to have a relationship with somebody, you're going to need that. And honestly, if you are the example for that, that other person is going to be able to provide that support for you too. They might repeat, reflect, respond as well. And then that helps. That's a win-win. You're just winning constantly. You're getting to know this person. You're getting to build that rapport with them. And then you're also saying, hey, I'm struggling with this. I could use some insight, some support, some whatever you may need to do. So listen more than you talk. Even I know with my dad, he talks about, my mom will say, Eric, listen. Even that preface alone gets his attention. So maybe you have a person in your life, like my dad or like me, that needs you to say, look, listen, Faith, listen, Eric, listen, prompt it. And then by all means, provide people with that active listening. Provide people with that safe space that they can come to, where they can solve problems, understand themselves, and grow exponentially. Repeat, reflect, respond. Give them that 80-20 and talk less, smile a lot more. You could be the chief joy officer for them too. You never know. This was something that my dad and I have been kind of talking about, and the men's group talked about, just trying to listen. And if you're trying to solve a problem, the first thing you should do is listen. Don't forget that part. If you're trying to solve a problem, start by listening. Start by repeating, reflecting, responding, and remember, talk less, smile more. If you want to build rapport with people, listen, be involved actively in what they're saying, and you'll know the person better than you ever thought possible. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next week on That's What He Said.